The world is still round, but I'm now showing you the opposite side. I don't know if you caught that. You know, Bill Clinton gave us the Commodity Futures Modernization Act and repeal of Glass-Steagall, set in motion the collapse of the American economy. That's why I propose all statues and libraries donated or committed or whatever to Bill Clinton, dedicated, be torn down. Be torn down immediately.
Yes, well, we'll actually get to that. We're going to talk about financialization. It started with post-World War II, essentially, that the financialization began. Karl Marx, by the way, predicted all of this, predicted the economies of the capitalist world would be destroyed through financialization. It's unbelievable to read it, but over 100 years ago, he predicted this would happen. But first, I want to stay on California because you mentioned Hollywood. Also in California is Silicon Valley. That's up near San Francisco. That's part of San Francisco. And they are in the headlines here. This is in the St. Louis Dispatch. And what they're talking about is how Silicon Valley is all talk, no action. Now, you know, the likes of Facebook and Google are telling you, we're going to protect you people from the Nazis because we are good people. Censorship from good people is a good thing. That we are enlightened people, and you can see that. The proof is in that on our website, it says, don't be evil. We are, and we say nice things, and we believe in nice things, and we believe in all sorts of equality, we say, but do they actually in practice believe in equality? Well, let's look at this. Silicon Valley is using H-1B visas to crowd out American minorities. So, Max, you know that Congress created the H-1B visa in 1990, so right before Clinton, under Reagan. Bush won. So, however, the first 5 years they accepted about 50,000. They only applied for like 50,000 visas from overseas workers. Under Clinton, it exploded. So there was like 900,000 H-1B workers at the moment. So here they point out that Silicon Valley's highly publicized campaign to hire minorities and women has failed. Black and Hispanic employees combined represent just 5% of the tech workforce. And women are outnumbered 3-to-1, according to a new study from the software firm Atlassian. Yet when Atlassian surveyed over 1,400 tech workers, 94% of them deemed their industry inclusive. So this industry that is now controlling so much of our cultural space and the news space, what they deem to be legitimate or right or okay or with it, you know, that they believe that they're super inclusive. And yet the evidence shows, we know, for example, African Americans are 12% of the US population, yet combined with Hispanic employees is less than 5% of the workforce in Silicon Valley.
The Silicon Valley workforce is channeling through Stanford University. Stanford University is the citadel of intelligent, tech-working, code-developing, math genius folks, and that is the pool in which they draw from. So if there's diversity is the goal, then Stanford University and the university system needs to radically open up their admissions policies to get a more demographically representative admissions for the United States. Once you're out of Stanford and you're going to the job force, it's too late. It's a homogenized application for the job force. So if you want to make that change, you've got to dig deeper. You know, under previous oil barons and the robber barons, they realized that they had to create libraries and universities and things like that and open things up. And the civil rights movement was in large part put forward by the elites in America, who also started the American Revolution, by the way. It wasn't a bunch of unscrubbed, unemployed dudes. It was middle-class guys like Thomas Jefferson.
What the study found was that, in fact, the U.S. graduates far more computer scientists every year than jobs become available. So there's no shortage of applicants. So those who are going to apply for the jobs, basically, it's, just so you know, I'm going to give a spoiler here. It's all down to profits. The workers they bring in from China and India are cheaper than the Americans. But here we have Silicon Valley, who berates everybody else, who tells you to tear down statues because other people are racist, not them. Well, the facts here suggest they also are racist because it says the influx of foreign workers has especially hurt non-white, non-male, native-born Americans. The National Science Foundation found that 7% of men of color who graduate have a computer science degree, 7% of men who are African American or Hispanic have no job. That's just 2% for white men who graduate. And women are also less advantaged with a degree. So they're unemployed. So they're not getting the jobs in Silicon Valley. That what this article is saying is that it's this H-1B visa. Google itself has spent something like $11 million, $12 million last year lobbying on immigration issues. Microsoft spent $9 million last year lobbying for immigration issues, this H-1B thing. And what they found was that H-1B visas enable tech companies to look racially diverse, even as they crowd out American women and workers of color. Last year, 72% of H-1B visas went to Indian workers, and most of the rest went to Chinese workers. Tech companies have long argued that they want the best and the brightest workers from around the world, but their actions suggest they really want the cheapest workers to boost their bottom lines.
Okay, so my theory effectively is wrong.
Which one?
The graduating class of Stanford and elsewhere is diverse.
But they're asking for too much money.
But they're not being hired because of discrimination
Yes.
by Google, by Silicon Valley,
Yeah.
who is preferring Asian applicants who are cheaper. Am I right?
That's right.
And so in China, it not only makes the phones at a slave wage.
One of our, I think your phone is probably ringing somewhere, by the way.
Oh, that's my crypto broker. I'm going long again.
This is not
I've gone long. I've gone big. Or stay home. Gosh darn it, let me finish my point. So they manufacture in China slave-made, right? And then they steal the job. And then when it comes to hire the high-end stuff in the corporate headquarters, they discriminate again. So Americans are getting bang, bang. They're getting bang, bang twice.
Well, also immigrants have less rights. They're easier to control. They won't organize. They won't ask for too much because then you could say, well, we're going to pull your visa. Go back to India. You know, that they're more compliant by the nature of the fact that you're there as a guest and that your visa could be revoked at any point should your employer withdraw the visa. So they are more compliant, but anyway, what I'm saying is that they are all talk, no action, because they could point the finger all they want at everybody else. But when those 94% are so certain that they are so right and so good, and therefore because they're so good and they don't do evil, that they should basically censor and control what everybody else thinks and says, well, their own actions suggest that they are just as racist as those they are pointing their fingers at. And I want to show some charts, because you mentioned financialization. I believe intellectual property is part of that whole financialization system. It's a rentier sort of system. And here we have a few charts to show you just how racist it's become since the likes of, Bill Clinton really got into this, not only financialization and all the legislation allowing for financialization, but also part of that, he expanded the whole private prison system and locked up 2 million African Americans, essentially. So just these charts show you, again, we're just showing you the actual truth about these people who claim that they are very egalitarian, despite the fact that we all know the top 1% has taken off completely with all the money under Democratic administrations, under Republican administrations, under Democratic control of Congress, under Republican control of Congress. The same thing happens over and over and over. And here we have a chart from the average family wealth for those born 1945 to 51. So basically what it's showing is, this is about 2000 right here. This is 2013. And it shows that African American wealth has increased to, it's an 11 times gap. So white American families have 11 times more wealth in 2013 than the average African American family. Well, back in 2000, it was 5 times. So it's expanded under both Bush and then Obama. It expanded to 11 times. So despite all of their claims of being diverse and loving diversity and loving everybody and doing no evil, the fact is that is doing evil.
Yeah, no, I agree. You're making a very compelling case of discrimination and racism in Silicon Valley in the service of draconian, bottom-line, rapacious behavior that's tearing the country apart. And they're the first on the barricades protesting against the policies of the current administration, claiming that the current administration is evil, and yet they are the embodiment of evil and have been for decades.
All of them are. Both parties, under both parties it's happening. Here's another chart showing you all the share of capital income earned by the top 1% versus the bottom 80% from 1979 to 2003. So in early days of the Bush administration, and it got worse then after, of course, the Iraq invasion. But right about here is where Bill Clinton came in, 1992, 93. And you see it really takes off from there. He allowed the financialization, but he was the first black president. Remember, everybody's like, he's so cool, he says the right things, he seems cool, he looks handsome, certainly better looking than Bush Sr.
Slick Willie.
Slick Willie. He could play the
saxophone on the Arsenio Hall TV show. Hound Dog, Elvis Presley, going after that middle America, white guys and trucks. Yeah, Bill's one of ours. And then Bill took out a knife and stabbed him in the back. And then his wife cackled like a lunatic. And a famous blue dress was soiled. And America went straight into the... And now we have finally somebody who's admitting the fact that America is bankrupt and the empire has collapsed. That's the fact of it. Can't blame the truth teller. Can't blame the messenger, America. Your empire is gone.
Well, in the last 45 seconds we have here, I just want to point out quickly, because I mentioned the old and the new, old money, new money, and that is gold versus Bitcoin. And I want to show that the financialization has entered the whole Bitcoin space. And this is a tweet from Bitfinex. Someone likely had a stop loss order of 3,600 for a lot of Bitcoin. Exchange sees this manipulated price down to trigger and buy it. So right there, you saw the price of Bitcoin last week went to 3,600 and then bounced back up.
This is called stop hunting. I was the guy. I saw some idiot down there with a stop loss, like 30% below the bid. And I went like, let's go steal this guy's Bitcoin. I worked on Wall Street for many years, Then now you're coming into my domain. Oh, we got to go now and say goodbye. Thank you for watching. I'm Max Kaiser. I've been with Stacey Herbert. If you want to catch us on Twitter, it's Kaiser Report. Y'all.